You've watched yourself do the work. You've mapped every step, and you've gone back and caught every exception. There's one piece left, and it's the sneakiest of all, because you literally can't see it. It's the knowledge that lives only in your head. The judgment calls you make so automatically, you don't even know you're making them. The little rules you'd never write down because nobody ever asked. Leave that piece out, and you hand the AI a process that looks complete and is quietly full of holes. So let me tell you exactly what you'll walk away able to do. By the end of these few minutes, you'll be able to look at your own process, the one you mapped, and pull the hidden judgment out of your head and onto the page in plain words, one rule of thumb at a time. The stuff you've never said out loud because it felt too obvious to bother. That's the piece that makes the AI's work read like you did it instead of a robot. And there's a simple test that drags it into the light. Let's name this last piece because it's slippery. It's not the steps. You've already got those. It's not the exceptions. You mapped those last time. It's the judgment, the rules of thumb, the context, the quiet, I just know that isn't written down anywhere because it never had to be. It lives in your head, or it's scattered across a few people's heads and it never made it onto paper because nobody ever needed it to. It is the entire difference between someone who's done this job for 5 years and someone who just read the steps this morning. Here's what it actually sounds like, so you know what you're listening for. I always pad that estimate by 20% because this team always runs late. I phrase the bad number gently because the boss is touchy about it. I don't trust that report on a Monday because it lags the weekend. This client wants bullet points, never paragraphs. None of that is written in any document anywhere, and every single piece of it changes the output. So here's why this is the make or break piece, the one that decides whether this whole thing works. There's a line I keep coming back to. A tool is only ever as smart as your worst documented step. Hand the AI your steps and your exceptions, but leave the judgment out, and it will run the process. And every single place where you would have quietly applied a rule of thumb, it just guesses. Generically, it pads nothing. It states the bad number flat. It trusts the Monday report. And the dangerous part is that the output looks completely fine on the surface. It's wrong in exactly the ways only an experienced person would ever catch, which means it sails right past you until it's in front of someone who matters. And understand why that happens mechanically, because it's the whole game. The AI is not working from your 5 years. It is working from whatever you wrote down. Full stop. It doesn't have your gut. It doesn't have your scars. It has your words on the page and nothing else. So whatever judgment you didn't capture simply isn't there for it to use. The judgment in your head and the judgment on the page are two completely different things, and the AI only ever gets the second one. Picture it on one real task, your weekly status report, written 2 different ways, both by the AI. Version 1 got your steps and your exceptions. Version 2 got all of that, plus your judgment. Lead with the win, soften the miss. Never bury the one number the boss actually watches. Version 1 is technically correct and reads like a robot filled in a template. Version 2 reads like you wrote it on a good day. Same steps underneath. The judgment is the whole distance between technically done and actually mine. So why does almost everyone leave this piece out? Because you genuinely can't see your own expertise. The knowledge is so worn in, it stops feeling like knowledge at all. It feels like plain common sense. Well, obviously, you'd pad that estimate. But it isn't obvious. It isn't common sense. It's your sense, earned over years of doing the thing, and the AI has precisely none of it. Which brings us to the tell. And it's the same word that tripped us up back at the very start, when you first sat down to watch yourself work. Watch for the word obviously, and watch for you just know, and for it depends. Every time you go to explain a step and your instinct is, well, obviously you just stop right there. That is not obvious. That is a piece of hard-won judgment about to walk straight out the door. The stuff that feels too obvious to write down is exactly the stuff the AI doesn't have and needs the most. Those three little phrases are a metal detector for buried expertise. When one goes off, you've found something. Dig. So here is the actual move, and it's concrete. Go back to the map you built and hunt for every spot where you make a decision. Anywhere a real judgment call happens. Decide if it's a real lead or a time waster. Flag anything that looks off. Choose how hard to push the client. Those decision points are where your tacit knowledge is hiding. At each one, you ask yourself one plain question. How do I actually decide that? What is the rule of thumb I'm running without thinking? And you write the answer down in ordinary words, right next to the step. Not a theory of it, the real rule. A real lead replied with a specific question, not just thumbs up. Looks off means the number moved more than 10% week over week. You're not documenting for a manual. You're pulling the wisdom out of your head and pinning it to the page where the AI can finally read it. And here is the shortcut that makes the hidden stuff jump out when you're stuck. Because staring at your own steps and trying to feel what's missing almost never works. At each step, ask one question. What would a brand new hire get wrong here? Even with my steps sitting right in front of them, picture the sharp, eager 22-year-old on day one, handed your exact instructions, no context. Where do they botch it? Whatever they'd get wrong is, by definition, your tribal knowledge. It's the thing you know that they don't, made visible. So write that down, because the AI is precisely that new hire, every single time. Fast, capable, willing, and completely missing your context until you hand it over. And you don't have to find every rule cold, sitting there alone. This is the perfect moment to let the AI interview you. Describe one of those judgment calls in a messy sentence. I sort of just know which leads are real. And tell it to keep asking you questions until the rule is sharp enough to follow. What makes one real? What's an example of one that wasn't? It'll pull the rule out of you faster than you'd pull it out of yourself, because it asks the questions you've stopped thinking to ask. You're not just writing the rule down, you're practicing the exact back and forth that running anything with AI is going to feel like. And with that, you are done being the human. Step back and look at what you've actually got now. You watched the work, you mapped the steps, you caught the exceptions, and you've surfaced the judgment that was only ever in your head. You're holding the thing almost nobody ever bothers to create. The real process, the whole of it, finally on the page instead of trapped in one person's experience. That is rare, and it is worth a lot. And it's also exactly what makes the next part possible. Right now, that real process is still one big block. True, complete, but too big to hand to anything in one go. So next, we do the satisfying part. We take that block and break it down into the small, separate pieces an AI can actually run. And we start deciding which of those pieces go to the machine and which ones stay yours. I'll see you there.